Well, welcome into my office for another visit as we continue on our journey of these 40 days with Jesus. Today I want to talk about communion. If you're part of a church and involved in church life or have a church background, you're familiar with communion, that we churches do this regularly in obedience to the Lord's command. But today I want to take you to Matthew 26, read a couple verses that show us where Jesus instituted this for us to do. Matthew chapter 26, I'm going to be reading verses 27 and 28. Then he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, "Drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood of the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission of their sins." He took two simple elements out of the Passover feast, bread and the cup, and said, "These are the symbols of my body and my shed blood." Pictures, if you will. But he says this is the covenant. He references the covenant. Well, what does that mean? Well, that would take us back to Jeremiah chapter 31, where God has promised that God would enter into a new covenant. The old covenant was the law of Moses, the law of the Old Testament. But a new covenant is coming, one in which he says God would write it on their hearts. Now Jesus has come, and the question is, are we now to this time of the new covenant? How do we enter into this new covenant with God, this new relationship? Well, first of all, we understand it does not come from the old covenant, the law. We are not saved. We don't have a relationship with God just by doing good and obeying His commands because, frankly, we fall miserably short at that. But we have a relationship, this new covenant is ratified by Jesus' shed blood and broken body. It took the sacrifice of Christ and our belief in that to have our sins forgiven and have this ongoing and, yes, eternal relationship with God Himself. I want to just encourage you that the next time in your church that communion is served, that you be there for that sacred, special moment. I know here at our church, the services that we do of communion, we make the whole service all about that, and it's a very sacred and special time because He wants us to remember through these elements that we touch and we taste and we hear as the Word is given, that all of our senses are involved to remind us of what Jesus did to ratify this new relationship with us. If you have a church home, engage in that. I know many of you've told me that you're watching these videos far beyond the Charleston area. If you're here in the Charleston area, I hope you have a good church. If not, I invite you to visit with us at Mount Calvary Baptist. You'll see the website address below me, and I just would encourage you to check it out. You need to have a church where you can regularly celebrate and to show the Lord's death that Jesus ratified this new covenant with His blood. Hope you'll enjoy that special time with God's people.